everybody. As we get into this Thursday night live, as we're 1 hour away from the daily close, which will leave us 24 hours away from the end of the trading week with the futures market open, we have a couple of catalysts coming tomorrow, depending on how you're looking at this, and we'll get into it. We'll talk about the quantitative easing that will start tomorrow, where notably the government will start buying back T-bills, their treasury bonds, or treasury bills, and it's going to inject a lot of capital into this market. Generally, when you go into quantitative easing, one of the biggest markets that gets hit for the positive would be cryptocurrency. It's a risk asset, and the government likes to push a lot of money through quantitative easing into risk assets. They like to get good pricing, but they have a unlimited budget because they can print whatever they want. So that's definitely something that's going to become a factor coming into tomorrow. The last time we effectively went from quantitative tightening back to quantitative easing was in March of 2023 approximately. And within 2 to 2.5 months, the crypto market went parabolic for some time. And then it pulled back, but it had a parabolic spike for just a couple of months. And it pre-ran what was going to end up being the back test from 23, that big run up. It back tested the prior move into 24, and then by the end of 24 we spiked out of control, and now we are where we are. So now for the first time in several years, we're going back to quantitative easing, and this is coming off the third consecutive 25 basis point rate cut at the federal or the FOMC meeting, as some of you were with us yesterday watching Jerome Powell speak and talk about it. Yes, he had a bit of a hawkish stand, making it sound like it was going to be more difficult going into next year with more cuts and yada, yada, yada. But that's more by design. He's not going to come in and say, oh, yeah, we're going to cut rates down, blah, blah. So, yes, there was a more hawkish tone. I believe that was likely by design. I feel like that, particularly because it'll drive the price down when you're hawkish. So we've come down from yesterday, and now I know a lot of people are going to come in here today and say, now, with quantitative easing starting tomorrow, should I be buying? It's a real legitimate question. It's a real legitimate question. One could argue that it's starting to look like we're putting in a reversal at the bottom here. And if that's the case, this will continue to be the overriding factor, is we have this inverse head here that we just don't seem to want to give up. And then you can come through here, and you can come through here and just say we're building inverse left shoulder, even if you want to break it into the smaller zones. But it looks like, I mean, it's like I've been saying from the beginning, until this breaks down, I'm considering this a bullish megaphone for XRP. And I know we'll have some disagreements amongst others. Some people that do their own analysis might disagree, but until this breaks down, I think XRP's pattern is actually in a megaphone. So I think it's bullish until not. Let's see. I'm curious for the early birds here. Are you bullish or bearish with the market right now? No explanation needed. Just type bear or bull. What the hell of a question. Good question, Maple Man. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XP Meteor, Dennis. Dan Marginal, thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XP Meteor as well. John Wiseman, welcome back, and I appreciate you coming back. I really do. Timothy Perez, welcome in along with the Cannabis Podcast. Thank you both for being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Mr. Stott, Mrs. Stott, and Edward Burke, thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XP Meteor. Such a great show of support. I can't thank you all enough for that. It means a lot to me. Everybody's the bear or the bull. With quantitative easing starting tomorrow, I'm starting to myself start to maybe lean towards the bull a little bit more here. But some things still have to happen. This could be a big bullish opportunity like we talked in the live earlier. The good news is like with all of these, got a little bit of a pullback here with XDC. We had a little bit of a pullback in the rest of the market, but it's going to be very interesting. This market's going to be very, 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 very interesting and volatile. And I'm going to read what the quantitative easing implications are and what they generally do and where they steer at. But I got to do the intro first, and then we'll get to business. Good evening, 6:04 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Thursday, December 11th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So as always, I thank each and every one of you for tuning in. As we just inched over 48,100 subscribers today. So that's always a good feat. Every time you can move up another 100, you're getting closer to 50. And then ultimately to 100,000, which is my goal, because you get a plaque. Yes, I know it might be a stupid plaque, but I want that stupid plaque. YouTube gives you a fantastically glorious plaque when you get to 100,000 subscribers, and I am only 48.1% of the way there. So in 2030 something, I'll probably be there if I'm lucky. Could happen. Could happen. I'm just sharing this with everybody because I did not get alerted for the live, which isn't good. And it didn't alert me on Julie's, and it didn't alert me on my own, so not good. So I'm just going to put a public and then one for the community and just say live. That's it. That's it. Just live. Thank you for the 29 of you who have hit that like button. Not even 50%, but I'm appreciative for the ones who did hit the like button. The other ones, I don't hold it against you. You're just not thinking about it. So if you start thinking about it, now you are thinking, see, it's on your mind. Now you can hit that like button. It's free. It doesn't cost a thing, and it allows my content to get out there. After all, don't you want this content to reach more people? Nick, good evening. Crypto Cooter, thanks for being in Town Zone for 6 months plus with the XP Predictor and being a very trusted bot in here and in the Telegram. John Allen, good evening. Let's see. Who did I miss? Susie, welcome in. Susie, oh, Mom. Mom, welcome in. I was going to say, I don't often see that name except my mom. But Mom, welcome in. CB Syrian, welcome in. And thanks for being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. Also in Tom's Army for over a year. Along with Jacoby. Mick Shoot, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year as well with the I Told You So badge. Excellent show of support here this evening by some of you. Beautiful. Beautiful indeed. Mom T's sleeping right now, if you're wondering. He's, well, I mean, he's starting to wake up right now. He took a nap after school. Let's see. It's all an illusion. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. And both lives. What a stellar human you are, joining in here twice in 1 day. So let's get to the nuts and bolts here. The question is going to be, do you buy? Do you buy? Right now we're on the right side of town in every single asset. Yes, there's that, oh, we could be staring off the cliff. We could be peeking over the curve. But as of right now, we're still on the top side looking up instead of falling down. You know, if we step over a little bit farther, we're going to be in a positioning where we're like, uh-oh. You know, but right now, for all intents and purposes, we're bouncing in a very nice area, in my opinion. If we're going to bounce, this is where we need to bounce, and we're bouncing so far. We maintain the structure here, and now our next step would be to get up and over $2.04.5, which would ultimately allow us the ability to get up here towards $2.12. And that's where we could start to open it up here. Bob Burtner, welcome back, my friend, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. So, I'm not a financial advisor, so well, what do I know? I'm just telling you what I see and my perception of what I believe could be coming. Now, nobody can make a real educated decision here, and you've got a minute, guys. The beauty of when we're starting this is we've got 51 minutes to debate this before we get into tomorrow's candle. The good news is still we've got over 2.5 hours until the Asian markets start to trade. You know, in any real way. So, let's take a look on why this is an interesting day. So, QE, anyone? And QE stands for quantitative easing. Oh, you know what? that would be bad of me. What does QE mean? Quantitative easing most commonly means quantitative easing, QE, an unconventional monetary policy where a central bank buys assets like government bonds to inject money into the economy, lower long-term interest rates, and boost spending and investment, used when standard rate cuts aren't enough. Less commonly, QE can mean the Latin blah, blah, blah. So what it is, a central bank creates money electronically to buy large amounts of financial assets, bonds, mortgage-backed securities from banks and investors. The goal is to stimulate the economic activity by increasing money supply, making borrowing cheaper, and encouraging lending and spending. When it's used when short-term interest rates are already near zero and traditional methods aren't working. During financial crisis, recessions, yada, 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 so on and so forth. The effect pushes down long-term yields, encourages investors to buy riskier assets, aka, well, they're saying corporate bonds, but I'm saying crypto for us, the riskiest asset of all. So now that you know what it is, now you can see what our central bank, which is the Fed, which when you watch the FOMC meeting, that's just our central bank showing our command, and basically, for lack of a better word, this is all that's happening when we talk about QE. Basically, this is the central banks. This is the Jerome Powell and the U.S. government to the Fed. This is all that's happening. I'm sorry. Because that's all that's really happening. So, you know, you got to make it look good. And they pay him good. Jerome's paid very well to lie. So quantitative easing, anyone? Fed resumes ongoing treasury bill purchases. The Fed's ample reserves mandate how morphed into an open-ended T-bill purchase program that looks functionally like a front-end version of QE to many market participants. The Federal Reserve has effectively restarted a narrow form of quantitative easing by ordering ongoing treasury bill purchases to keep reserves ample. Even as officials frame the change as a technical adjustment in policy implementation, in its monetary policy implementation statement, the Federal Open Market Committee, the FOMC, remember we seen the meeting yesterday with the old Uncle Powell, directed the New York Fed's open market desk to increase system open market account holdings of securities through purchase of the Treasury bills. The directive authorizes purchases of bills and other Treasury securities with remaining maturities of 3 years or less, and it applies until instructed otherwise. So this is the gradual print. It says, effective December 11th, let's read this. The Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System voted unanimously to lower the interest rate paid on reserve balances to 3.65%. I encourage you guys to stay during this. You got to know what's going on so you know how to trade. You can't just ask the question of should I buy or sell right now until you can see what's actually giving you the reasoning for what you're going to be doing. Okay? So stick around. Otherwise, you can't ask the question of should I trade because you didn't even put the education in front of you to where you would know how to trade. The charts are 1/3 the part. This is one of the other thirds of the part. The Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System voted unanimously to lower the interest rate paid on reserve balances to 3.65%. That's your federal funds rate, effective December 11, 2025. As part of its policy decision, the Federal Open Market Committee voted to direct the open market desk at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York until instructed otherwise to execute transactions in the system open market account in accordance with the following domestic policy directive. Effective December 11th, 2025, the Federal Open Market Committee directs the desk to undertake open market operations as necessary to maintain the federal funds rate in a target range of 3.5% to 3.75%. Conduct standing overnight repurchase agreement operations at a rate of 3.75%. Conduct standing overnight reverse purchases. Now we're getting to the reverse repo market, which is, well, that's another story for another day. Reverse repurchase agreement Operations at an offering rate of 3.5% and with a per counterparty limit of 160 billion per day. Increase the system open market account holdings of securities through purchases of treasury bills and, if needed, other treasury securities. We're not purchasing secretaries. Treasury securities with remaining maturities of 3 years or less to maintain an ample level of reserves. Roll over at auction all principal payments from the Federal Reserve's holdings of treasury bills or treasury securities. Reinvest all principal payments from the Federal Reserve's holdings of agency securities into treasury bills. Insanity. Trading with J-Ride, thanks for the $10 donation, and also being in Tom's Army for over 4 years with the XRP Phoenix badge. That's incredible. Hey Tom, I can't remember if you said you were out of XDC. Not talking about that right now. We're not to the point of where we need to go yet for positioning. We haven't got to positioning yet, you sneaky bastard. We'll go over everything position related once we get past the nuts and bolts to get us to the positions. There was a moment I was out, but there's very possibly a moment that I got back in after a drop, so we'll see. Or there's a possibility that I didn't. We don't know. But we'll get there. Bearded Viking, welcome in. Fuck, I'm having a brain fart. Mighty Marcus? Is that your son's name? Mighty Marcus. I think that's it. I'm having a brain fart for some reason. But welcome in, Bearded Viking. Hope your son's doing well, fighting with his battle. I know you let everybody in on a little bit. T's doing good. He had a good day. He got to see his sister at school. She's back from Western Michigan. She's in the honors program, and she's off now until next semester. But she was at school about the volunteering for the Santa workshop, and she got to work with T when he was doing his when he was walking around there. So she was able to send us pictures. So it was nice. It was nice. So he was very happy about that. Very happy. But let's continue. We got to continue. Let's stay on. In a related action, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System voted unanimously to approve a 1/4 percentage point decrease in the primary credit rate to 3.75% effective December 11, 2025. And taking this action, the board approved requests to establish that rate submitted by the boards of directors of the Federal Reserve Banks of New York, Philadelphia, St. Louis, and San Francisco. This information will be updated, yada, yada, yada. So, and then Peter Schiff said, actually, let's read this part real quick. This front-loaded buying program is being read by traders as a de facto reset of QE. Analyst Peter Schiff argued that it won't be long before the Fed expands and extends QE5 to longer-dated maturities. And he closed with, got gold, a framing that connects the bill program directly to an inflation and hard asset narrative. So here's Peter Schiff's official X account. QE, by any other name, is still inflation. The Fed just announced it will be buying T-bills, which is treasury bills, on an ongoing basis, given that long-term rates will also rise on this inflationary policy shift. It won't be long before the Fed expands and extends QE5 to longer-dated maturities. Got gold? And there's a lot of stuff here. Underneath the QE branding, the official text is tightly specified. The desk is told by treasury bills and only extend into other treasuries if needed, with no mention of longer duration bonds. All principal payments from existing... Yeah, what do you think they're going to do? Tell you now they're going to do longer bonds? Completely implode the dollar on day one? Smells like QE. Boom. Fed says it will begin treasury bill repurchase on December 12th. I mean, that's exactly what it is. So rate settings have been adjusted around this balance sheet pivot, but remain secondary in the market narrative. The Board of Governors voted unanimously to lower the interest rates. As we know, the FOMC instructed the desk to maintain. We already know all this shit. The standing facilities were reset to bracket the range. Standing overnight repurchase agreement operations are to be conducted at 3.75%, while standing overnight reverse repurchase operations remain at 3.5% with a per counterparty limit of 160 billion per day. In a related move, the primary credit rate at the discount window was cut by 1/4 point to 3.75, matching the top of the federal funds corridor and the repo rate. Supporters of the plumbing, not QE viewpoint, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? That's all nonsense. We're just going to continue to expand the bubble. And, I mean, apparently they don't think the bubble's ever going to pop, but it's already kind of started to pop. You can only expand the credit for so long until even the interest payments become unpayable. That's what's happening with the citizens of the USA. Seriously, think about it. You can only have it happen for so long until it implodes. Credit can only be taken out so much before there's none left to take out. And you can only take out so much credit as to where you can pay the minimum balance, and then it just goes again. I mean, this whole thing's a nightmare. This whole thing's a nightmare. That's why when you get into QE, it can set up the stage for something like a risk asset. Now, QE on its own, just like a rate cut on its own, can't jumpstart this, but QE with rate cuts simultaneously, which we had a rate cut on the 10th yesterday, and then tomorrow, 48 hours later, we have quantitative easing officially. Now you ask yourself, where do they want to buy a risk asset? Do they want it to dump as they're buying into it, or do they care? Well, that's a hell of a question, but in the case of quant, leading into all of this, just want to look at one asset that everybody seems to like, which is for good reason. You talk about just from November 30th, quant's down 25%. 25% in 11 days. You think that's by accident that we're down 25%? And that's pretty much universal. Everything's getting hammered right now in the last 11 days. Do you think that's by design? Or do you think that the government might be smelling a better opportunity here? It's quite convenient how the market didn't run up 35% right when we go to the quantitative easing, but in fact it dived. Now, the thing that everybody needs to ask themselves are you paying attention to gold and silver? Like after I left, Hecla Mining was up like 4%. It ended up 12.5% up. It's almost at $20 a share. My head almost exploded when I seen that. We were buying it at literally the last purchase. We were saying it was so cheap because they had great earnings, the ridiculous earnings actually. The earnings literally it built its own rocket ship before earnings. It lit the fuse, and you still couldn't see it when you looked at the earnings of like 5 months ago. It was so good. There was so much. It was unbelievable. It blew it out of the water. And it was at like $4.50 area. And that was, I believe, our final purchase of Hecla. And now we're sitting here at $19.35. Like, even seeing Pan America Silver at 50 plus, it doesn't even seem real. All this doesn't seem real. Now, B2 Gold, I feel like, is behind. I feel like Dolly Varden is a little bit behind here. Could be an opportunity here. Building in as it drops. Maybe it has a 10% drop here, maybe. Who knows? But it would be a good spot to start building in because of the acquisition that happened. Well, you'd have to read into it. We did it yesterday. But nobody cares about this. 6% of the audience left once I started talking about metals. Shouldn't have done it, Julie. I watch the statistics. I know what people like and they don't like. 61% of my audience couldn't give a rat's ass about gold, silver, or mining stocks. 6% care. 99% of the ones who care are typically in the lot. So, we have a caring audience. Of course, I've heard of Basel III, the repricing, but I don't put a lot of stock into it because it's outside of my control. I mean, I put stock in it, but I don't base my decisions solely on all of that. Right now, though, it's kind of like what we said earlier, right? The market, it's either going to prove it to us or it's not. Like, this is the moment where the market has to prove it to us. The way the end of this day is moving is good. Even when you look at some of these smaller metrics, it's not bad the way the end of the day is going. Do we still have a lot of work? Yeah. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and these charts aren't going to break out in 30 seconds. But, I mean, this has been a great hold at $1.99. You're going to get a little bit more validation here, but remember what we need to do still. This is what you have to pay attention to. This is why you can't just say, oh, everything is boss. You know, you can't just do it yet. Like, we could come up to 228 and get rejected. But we still have to get rid of this death cross, because that death cross would send us down probably back to 158 area if it actually played out, if not worse. We also have to make sure that we're not topping and all this other nonsense. But I believe until it breaks down, and I'm gonna stand by this until we can't anymore, that we're in a megaphone. But we still got the micro side of this pattern, which right now we're on the top side right now. So, you know, right now we can cook. But if we fall back below $2, we're in some trouble. That would be, if it lost that area, it would be an immediate drop back near the $1.85 zone. So that's why it's so imperative to start reversing. It's nice too, because remember yesterday with XDC, was that like 5.2, 5.3, 5.03? I don't know what it was. 5.05. So now if you haven't bought it yet, 3 hourly's pushed into oversold in the stochastic, 4 hourly's pushing. It's down 3.5% from yesterday alone. 4 hourly needs to hold itself. It's held to 4.7. It held this area so far to stop it from coming down to the 4.4. So that's a good thing. Daily time frame is starting to reverse back up, but that daily close is going to leave a lot to be desired if it ends right there. Pretty neutral, though, if I must say. Did not make a new high and did not make a new low in the candle. So it's a very neutral candle right now. It's definitely a very neutral candle. Monthly is shaking almost into oversold. Weekly is significantly oversold. Crypto is just waiting for its day. It's just waiting and waiting and waiting for this catalyst. And you got a neutral. You got neutral with the 25 base point rate cut on its own, but having the QE, it definitely offers a little bit of possibility. I would like to see a short squeeze heading into my birthday, personally, on December 17th. Last year we had a huge run up leading to my birthday, and then before it got to 12 o'clock on my birthday, we started to crash. And on the 18th, it wasn't fun last year. From the end of the day on the 17th into the 18th. Massive run up on my birthday, and then... And here we are now. You know, 12 months later. So. Bitcoin. Up 547 points. Right now, Bitcoin held that all important level. Honestly, 89,785. And it's trying to push out here. If we can stay on top of 92,299, use that as support, we just might be able to make a run at the top side here. Yes, we got to get over here, but we still haven't retested. Remember, we haven't tested this breakdown out of the broadening, or breakdown out of the rising wedge. However, we haven't broke out of what could be a bear flag, bearish consolidation for a breakdown near 72. So we have to get not rejected here. Otherwise, this could bring us back to 80 pretty easily. Maybe not 72, but it could definitely bring us to 7 or 80. So still stuck in here. So are we breaking out or breaking down? Can't say anything until we can get outside. We got to get outside of this. You get outside of this, and you got a pretty nice little pump here. I don't know if it'll go to 105, but I mean, it definitely... It's anybody's guess at that point. So that's what you're looking for. That's what we're looking for. It's hard to say my favorite mining stock. I like them all for different reasons. I like them all for different reasons. Pricing wise, right now, probably B2 Gold, because it's literally stupid cheap still for some reason. Not even being at $5 just sounds, it's insanity. Mr. Scott, your birthday's the 30th. Look at us. A couple of December birthday guys. See that, Julie? We are. Shane, thanks for being in Tom's Over for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Me too, Bearded Viking. I do love B2 Gold. I think it's undervalued. I really do. And they've had their record silver production the last 2 years as a company, which is it's perfect timing for it. In the daily time frames too, we've kind of, man, man, it's so overbought, but at the same time, the weekly for Bitcoin is in a very desirable position. The monthly is in a very interesting position. And we've back tested, believe it or not, this possibility that maybe that was a broadening wedge and we back tested the outside of it and created another one over the top. But this, I don't know, this created something interesting. The fact that it held and now it seems to be holding, it's something. It's certainly something. And pulling back too, that if quantitative easing really puts a new emphasis here, doesn't it? Out of curiosity, who thinks it's going up and who thinks it's going down? Just all you have to do is say up or down in the chat. And maybe, hit that like button too while you're in here. But up or down. Up or down. Then we're going to go into the total crypto market cap and everything else. Daniel says up. John says up. Mrs. Stott says up. Mr. Stott says up. I would be agreeing with Mrs. Stott. And that, no. Daniel, thanks for being in Towns Army 6+ months with the XP Predictor, says up. Moza here, thanks for being in Towns Army for over 2 years with the XRP. The XRP 589 Moon Badge, says down. We've had 11 votes, 12 votes, and we have 10 up, 2 down. Maple Man says short term up. Bearded Viking says up. OE, not QE, says up. Dan Marge up. Nick up. The Cannabis Podcast says down. Oh, up. Oh, up, down. Randad Hoy, thanks for being in Towns Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge, says down. Down. Cream Goodness, good afternoon, Tom. Robinhood listed XCN on its main brokerage today. Interesting. We're going to have to put XCN up here. Not because I'm using Robinhood, but because I have the ability to purchase XCN. And at some point, we're going to get a squeeze. And with quantitative easing, wouldn't that be a good time to get a squeeze? Oh, it's up 12% today. You son of a bitch. Of course you'd be up right now, 12%. Oh, that's probably because of Robinhood. Ooh. That kind of looks like a bearish weekly. How did that happen? That almost looks like a gravestone. That means that squeeze back down into like more of a neutral bearish area. We'll see. We shall see. Oh boy. That could be interesting. This is going to be very dependent. Well, it can't really go much farther down. Well, it could go a little bit farther. I mean, I would have preferred for it to come down here. I remember we were doing this before. But, then again, that was just a preface before, but now we can just actually look at everything. I might have to come down even farther. Anyhow. I don't know. XCN, the only problem I have with XCN is it's a big pump and dump one with some of the bigger influencers. So, if you get caught in that rat's nest, you're going to be holding a very, very, very big bag. As some found out the last time around. Big bag. Big. Isn't it interesting, though, to see, the total crypto market cap is down 2.5 billion. The total 3 is down 3.7 billion. Others is down 663 million. So let's start with the total crypto market cap, which is all cryptocurrencies, every single one of them. We're still above the Mendoza at 2.94 trillion. That's where we have to stay above. Otherwise, we're already signifying a drop down to 2.52 trillion. We've already had a death cross. We've already had the death cross. And it's been confirmed not just by the 20 cross and the 200. You've had the... Oh boy, we have a signal. You've had the 50 cross the 200. And now you're like, oh, son of a bitch. Now we've got a, validation. And then the 100 cross the 200. Now you're like, oh, fuck. Now I got confirmation. Excuse my French. So now we have to see if this is a lagging indicator or not. For it to be a lagging indicator and if eventually break down, we would probably come to 252. But if we can reverse and we can take this out because we've got unprecedented QE coming again. Can't predict that in the charts until it well, I mean, you can. But now I ask myself, do they want to drop it? Or are they just going to, hey, everybody knows quantitative easing starting. Or is it already at the point now where they've dropped it 25%, right? Or 30 in some cases like we've seen since the 11th. It's a pretty big drop across the board, 25%, 30% in some cases or more. Feels like something spicy is going to happen. We've been talking about it, but now we only got 25 minutes until the flip of the clock. So what do we think? I know some of you set up. A lot of you set up, actually. The Fear and Greed, it'll come out again at 7 on CoinMarketCap. I mean, alternative.me, which is the one I like for crypto Fear and Greed index. It's only at 29, earlier today, but we got 24 minutes and 16 seconds until that comes out. So that's going to be something very interesting to watch here soon. The Bitcoin long-short ratios, let's take a look at that real quick, get a little bit of more information. Before we get into the next, we're going to the total 3 next, everything besides Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's do the 24-hour. So in Bitcoin, we have 50.25% going short, 49.75% going long, $46.96 billion long, 47.43 billion short, which means we have a surplus if we go up of about 470 million roughly. Not crazy, but there's still more going up. Ooh, that's a big difference. Ethereum, on the other hand, 48.48% going long, 51.52% going short, 36.54 billion going long, and 38.84 billion going short. There's a $2.3 billion surplus if it goes up to liquidate shorts. That's a big bear. And the Ethereum Bitcoin pairing, it's actually breaking out of versus Bitcoin. Is this an early indicator that maybe we're reversing in a very hard way? For alts maybe, especially? We'll see. XRP, 47.49% going long to 52.51% going short. 2.08 billion, lots of money flowing through XRP now in the futures. 2.08 billion long, 2.3 billion short. That's a pretty big surplus right there for just XRP. 292 million approximately. That's decent if it goes up. For XRP it is. Like, you're not talking 30, 40 billion dollars. But it's decent. Let's see. Apparently Frankie Fresh. Mike. What do we got? Another Michigan Sharon Moore incident going on here in the chat. I told everybody Sharon Moore is a klutz and he was not ethical and he should not be the Michigan coach. And I was pissed when they hired him, and I've been pissed for 2 years. What does he do? He goes and impregnates a staff member, his admin, his secretary, basically forces her to get an abortion, coerces her by raising her pay by 50%, walks into his wife's house. He went to his wife who just had a baby, their third one this summer. Yes, it's true. And he grabs basically a gun or whatever, and he says, I'm going to kill myself, or a knife or whatever he had. Runs out of the house, drives to the admin's house who he was banging, who he had to, have the abortion. And then he says, I'm going to kill us both, basically. Now he's in jail. So I got my wish that he's not the coach anymore, but not in the way I thought we were going to. Solana, just figured I'd sneak that in there. 48.28% going long, allegedly. 51.72% going short. 7.54 billion going long, 8.087 billion going short. So about $503 million or so if it goes up. Let's see. What else? Lots of liquidity above us, folks. Lots of liquidity above us. Especially in the short time charts. You got liquidity. Let's go into the monthly and see how it pans out. But we're building a lot of topside liquidity here. If it breaks up into here, we got a nice area, a pocket here between 228 and all the way up to about 240-ish. Down below, we got a little pocket around 196-ish. 195 if we decide to go down there. So we have to pay attention to that. Bitcoin in the monthly. This is the liquidation heat map. We got a strong area of liquidity. We've talked about it. 95.4 would be the biggest margin for shorts to get their balls chopped off. Now it could come all the way through and just immortalize them. But coming through this pocket here seems like it's a big possibility. Now coming down here, you could get some at 84, back down to 80-ish, 83. But we've got some over the top here. We've definitely got some over the top where we can capitalize on. This market can capitalize. And then Ethereum, because XRP and Bitcoin has over-the-top liquidity for sure in the monthly. Ethereum kind of took out some of that topside liquidity, and now you're talking down at 2,700 would be the biggest one. On the liquidity map, why are colors on some on both sides? Because on some of them on the left side, as the price action came through there, it knocked out the liquidity. And then to the right, the reason why, like down here, it's reemerged down here is because after it went up here, more shorts or more longs will get liquidated as it comes to this line after the push back up. Back here, all of this got wiped out, so now that's why down here you don't see anything. And then there's just nothing here. All of this got wiped out, which made it clear. And then when it came back up, this level started to light up because that's where the pocket of liquidations will occur when it comes back down. If that makes sense. Mrs. G. Mrs. Stott. If not, I can try to explain it a little bit differently. Frankie Fresh, welcome in and thanks for being in Town Zone for over 6 months with XP Predictor. I hope you and Janine are doing great. Janine, if you're watching, I'm glad that you're a part of this audience. Really very happy about it. And Frankie Fresh, I hope your hand is every day is getting just a little bit more flexible and you're getting more range of motion. Really, really, really do. Okay, good, Mrs. Stott. So it did make sense. Big inverse pattern setup here too, everybody. So, you know, there's a possibility here that something majestic could happen soon. But we need it to happen. So you're going to have to... You just have to have faith. You're going to have faith. I'll go right now at 12.8. If it continues to push down, we'd look for a retap around 11.8. I don't know yet. We got to see how the market generates over the next, 6 to 7 hours. But we're going to learn a lot here very quickly. We're going to learn a lot, especially with a few of these. But if you're looking for something, don't force it. Remember, don't force it yet. Because with quantitative easing coming, maybe these are bear flags and they fall out, and then this would be the actual buy for the ease. I'm not sure that they would just go real quick, but that would be the best buy at 10.7. So right now from the best buy, because that would exhaust the liquidation wick from October 10th, I believe. Oh yeah, that would nuke it. So that would be the best buy, which means from the best buy, we're like 28% away. Or, about 20%, 22%. So I really don't know what they're going to do yet. I know with quantitative easing, it's gonna allow certain things. But I'm waiting here for a minute. I'm waiting to see what kind of signal it's going to give. What kind of, whether we get validation here or we get rejection. We're going to learn a lot here when the Asian markets open up. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. Define, thanks for being in Town Zone for 6+ months with the XP Predictor. Being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. Says, hi everyone, hit that like on the way in. Consider subscribing and joining Tom's Army for the best technical analysis on YouTube. Every day you are not in the Telegram, you are missing out. Why wait? I agree. I agree. Frankie needs to switch hands when he's doing the... Ah, Mike. Mike. Mixed Shoot, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Said, look forward to buying more algo. The XRP price performance is not allowing that to happen for Mike, unfortunately. So, but when the price performance better, it will. Let's see. Now we got to get. I was just trying to remember what the next thing I want to talk about, but we still have to get to now the total 3, which is everything besides Bitcoin and Ethereum. See, we're over a very interesting spot again. This is a good sign if we can hold. This is how you know if we're going to have a big push back up or a pull down to 491 possibly. If we hold this, there's a majestic, I keep saying majestic, but it's true. There's a majestic reversal lining up here. If we can just hold. And with quantitative easing starting tomorrow, this would be an opportunity if it plays through. There's an opportunity. Even algo from that almost 14-cent mark has come down nicely already. Whether it comes down farther or not, who knows? But even where it's at right now, it's come down from 14.1. That's a 9% almost savings here just from waiting from a day, 2 days ago. It's a big savings. That's almost $10 out of every. That's almost 10% off. So for every $1 you spend, it's only 90 cents just from a couple days ago. So the total 3 right now, it's flirting with possibility here, guys and gals. Is it coming for a rejection, or is this going to be the ultimate support that brings us back up and drives us back towards 1.21? We've got to invalidate this death cross, obviously. And if we get a rejection here, it would be devastating going into the weekend.
Our delivery time is 10 to 2.
Okay. Blech. But yeah, the total 3 is trying. We're at that make it or break it. Like, there's never been more of a make it or break it than now for these markets. And it's ironic, we're almost to 7 o'clock. And then the others is everything outside of the top 10. So get rid of XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, USDT, I believe Chainlink, and a few others. And get the less popular ones in here. And the total 3, I mean, it hung on as well. It's hit here. Now the next should be the resistance at 226. Unless, if it follows suit, we should technically be buy. Support, sell, resistance at 226. So I mean, there's a lot of suggestions here that we could be reversing right now. Now, is it going to happen? Who the fuck knows? But it's definitely could be. It's definitely pointing in that direction. So it's intriguing, guys. We're in a very intriguing moment, and it's all of them. Look at where SHX is. Like, you can pretty much pull all of them and be like, wow. Like, look, SHX had this first move up earlier. Now it's back testing this bottom phase. Look, it's literally back testing it. So if you're looking to buy this and it actually held, this would be the nut buy. FYI. Unless it rotated back down and came down somewhere over here. But this is the exact area where if it's going to break out, buy support, sell resistance. This is back testing that support in a smaller time frame, believe it or not. So is it going to hold? If it holds, you are at the exact spot where you should get some kind of spike, and we're moving into the 7 o'clock hour. So it's everything. Like, every single one of my charts are at a very interesting spot. And I love it. Linnea, now we have to see if we can actually rotate up here and make this a big head. I didn't know how far it would go, but we were talking about how this would be a big head formation. So maybe it does swing around a little bit farther, like this, before it can ultimately break out. But if it does, that's an inverse head and shoulders we're building. Like we are, honestly, this is one of the most exciting times we could ever hold. Look at this. This could be the reversal in real time if it can hold. Yes, I'm showing some optimism. I'm showing optimism. It would definitely be nice to see a spike at 7. If you come over here to Epic, it fought back over 50 cents. And did I mention that everything is at like its threshold? They've all come down to that make it or break it support structure, and they've all held it so far. Everything has held it so far. They're holding it together. The holding it together doesn't mean it's going to completely hold it, but it's at least for the time being holding it together. Oil is down to $57.89 now per barrel, which it came down from almost 61, which is nice to see. Gold up to 4,275. Silver over 63 on the close was crazy. Almost a 0.75% pull down, and it still got over 63. Unbelievable. But man, that quantitative easing certainly has us licking our chops. Daniel, no one's saying it would be the best time. It would be the best time if we don't fall through. If it falls through those support structures, it's going to fall hard, but that's the caveat here. Is it going to hold? That's what we've been discussing for 50 minutes. Or is this the absolute nut time to buy? Like the best time to buy before a breakout? It's not about time in market, it's about timing market. So this would be a timing thing. And I'm not a financial advisor, so I really can't tell you that, but good question. You asked the right question. I just can't answer it the way you want, but that is the right question. Because then I can answer it in a clever way. But you, my friend, asked the right question. And I encourage you to keep asking questions, whether you think they're good questions or not, and that goes for everybody. CJ2 Pilot, be safe driving. I'm glad we can at least put you over the audio, so you got something to listen to. And thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moonbands. Super, super unbelievable support. Oh man, it would be nice to see a spike. I'm just, in the back of my mind, I keep thinking, because they're buying, would it make sense for it to just, one last time, even if it's a few percent from here, just have a quick spike down for a buy purpose, and then, yeah. I bought a few earlier with the mindset of, we break, I'll buy the back test. If we fall, I'll buy the drop. There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Well, it's optimism defined because of the QE, but also a little bit of clarity, emotion-wise, to explain to myself, you've been here before, and you got to let it happen. Let it happen. Let's see how these support structures work out on some. The beauty with XDC is it's about a day behind, so we can see how the markets respond now. And it doesn't mean that it can't break out by itself, but traditionally, that's what happens. No, yeah, it has been a terrible cycle. We had one chance to be in before last November, and anybody who bought after it is handsomely down. Even if they were buying the dip the whole way down, they're getting crushed. I don't need to see any statistics to tell me that. It's just a fact. So... honestly, could be worse. Still in the back of my mind, I'm saying, all right, Tom, let's see if they do this majestic pull down here again. When everybody is thinking. So I think, like Mr. Stott said, we need to do a breathing exercise we like to do. I know it's towards the end of this live, so maybe that's a good thing, 54 minutes into it. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. Let all the stress of the economy, let all the stress of the economics, let all the stress of QE and risk assets and not risk assets and just the monetary policy and just say how expensive everything, just let it go. One more through the nose and out the mouth. We gotta let it go. Gotta let it go. It may not have been the dip, but now we could possibly be in the dip. You know, it's a big difference now than it was. Yes, are some things working against us, like getting a 100 crossing the 200 in a bearish fashion for crypto and Bitcoin? Yeah, well, that's not good. Or the total 3, not good. So could we still have another 10% before the reversal or 15? Oh, we could. So I said, let it happen one way or the other. Just let it happen. Don't fight it. Don't beg it. Don't tempt it. Don't be a Sharon Moore. Show some ethics and integrity and just let it happen. I'm cool as a cucumber. XRP $2.01 low. So far, so good. Glaucoma, welcome in. Clever name. Clever name. I like the way you did it. Peace and love with you too, my friend. Peace and love. I would just love to see a lot of these coins reach to the 50-day moving average. Isn't it sad that's all we want is a move to the 50-day moving average at this point? But I can't disagree with you. In the higher time frames, would love to see a retest of the 50-day. Just come back up here to 222 on XRP in the daily. Because that's where we need to retest in a big way. Because if we come up there. The other problem is if we in the stochastic break through this, it's going to show us about a 72-hour bearish trend here. And then you ask yourself, what's in the next 72 hours? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we could have the weekend. So here's the other way to look at this. Quantitative easing starts on a Friday, conveniently enough. Does that mean we dump into the weekend and then by Monday morning everybody's going nuts? Or through Sunday night? In through the nose. One last time out through the mouth. And one more for goodwill and good faith and peace. Before I leave, the 3 pillars of success that we'll keep talking about. What's the 3 things you need? Does anybody remember? I'm going to relax now another way. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You need faith, compassion, and love. You have to have faith in something greater than yourself. You have to have compassion for everybody else. Now, maybe not just your man and woman, but compassion for every living thing. Even if you don't think it's living on earth. And then you have to have love for all. You have to have that universal love. Nobody needs hate. Hate perpetuates itself in a dark and weird way. Compassion will always guide you because with compassion you form integrity. And then you need faith. Faith in something greater than ourselves. So I like the faith, compassion, and love. And then with that, I want to wait 2 more minutes because I want to see where the crypto fear and greed index went in. You know, to end this daily close. Because the daily close is not a great one. It just, the good thing is it stayed over key support levels. So we didn't give anything away. In fact, we fought back most of the day. So, and then Julie's doing the feeding for our son. So I definitely want to, you know, make sure everything's good. So make sure to hit that like button before you leave. Subscribe if you're, you know, new. But, you know, just please share this. Consider, you know, subscribing, you know, in a way if you're just watching. So there's like 30% that just watch this religiously but never subscribe. I'm not sure why, but if you're one of the 30% who watch and don't subscribe, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. It would help. It would help to keep the light bill, or pay the light bill. 89 likes. Almost to 100. 89 out of 108. That's a pretty good percentage. Over 80%. I'll take that. And then let's go to the crypto fear and greed index as we count it down. It's going to happen here. About to happen. We got 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Let's go fear. We'll see if we get back into extreme fear. No, probably not. People are too greedy. Let's refresh. We're at 29. We are still at 29. Son of a bitch. I feel like people are being too greedy right now. That sucks. All right, we'll see what happens with the market, though, after the flip. Be blessed, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for this second live. It's time for me to go.